Warning! The following video contains a few spoilers for several Pokémon Mystery Dungeon games. Greetings, citizens of the internet! You can call me Nitro Indigo, and as you may or may not know, Pokémon Mystery Dungeon was a huge part of my childhood. Explorers of Time introduced me to complex storytelling, and Gates to Infinity's message about how negativity could end the world, but we can work together to overcome it, really resonated with me. Of course, the games aren't perfect. The gameplay is monotonous and the dialogue can get really repetitive, but every once in a while I feel the urge to fall in love with them again. Today, I won't be talking about the games themselves, but all the advertisements I could find, or commercials, whatever. Without further ado, let's begin! This advertisement begins much like Team Go-Getters out of the gate. A boy wakes up as a water starter and sees his reflection in the Charmander, but this time he's a Totodile instead of a Squirtle. Also like Go-Getters, they both sound really annoying.
Whoa! Come on! We got rescuing to do!
On the plus side, the animation is pretty good. The anime-style Pokemon against realistic-ish backgrounds doesn't look as jarring as you'd expect, but what is up with that music in the second half?
Introducing the newest Pokemon, You!
Nothing says mysterious adventure quite like funk? People don't talk about the advanced anime much, which I refuse to call Pokemon the series Ruby and Sapphire, by the way, but there's something awkwardly charming about its bold colours and really weird episode plots. Like the one where Pikachu gets amnesia, or the one where they rip off Yu-Gi-Oh!, or the one where May accidentally creates an alternate timeline, which was my childhood favourite. Anyway, I bring this up because spin-offs were a bigger deal back then. For example, the Japanese opening of episode 152, which aired the same day these games were released in Japan, had unique animation showing a parody of the Rescue Team box arts, featuring several of the main characters' Pokemon. The song is called Battle Frontier, not to be confused with the English song of the same name, and it's coincidentally my favourite opening. Sadly, 4Kids didn't keep this, but Unbeatable is still my second favourite opening. The other Rescue Team advert is the most naughty thing I've ever seen. It takes place in a grungy city while techno music plays. The plot is that a mystery dungeon has appeared in the train station for some reason, and everyone is scared of it except for a group of kids. Were the people who made this told nothing about the game except you become a Pokemon? Was this the inspiration for the American Spirit Tracks advert? What's that shadow on the far left? Cyndaquil? There are two kinds of Explorers of Time and Darkness adverts. The first kind are animated and use Pikachu with a Piplup partner. I always thought that the canon team was Piplup and Turtwig because it was used in the manual and on the box art of Explorers of Time, but what about you? I really like how some of the marketing for Explorers puts emphasis on the story, giving the viewer out-of-context glimpses of major events to hook their interest, which they really should have done for every subsequent game. I can forgive Rescue Team's marketing for putting less emphasis on the story because the main focus was on the novelty of becoming a Pokemon anyway, but as for the others, well, I'll get to those. Take, for example, this first trailer, which shows the protagonist awakening on the beach at the beginning of the game. I love the warm but shadowed sunset colours. One thing you should know about me is that I really love Noughties anime sunsets. The music that follows is a great, triumphant, orchestral version of the Exploration Team theme. I also know just enough Japanese to be able to translate some of the narration.
そして君はポケモンになっていた。ポケモンになって世界を救う。
I always found that tagline odd because unlike the first game, you're not specifically summoned to save the world. I also only remember it being used for Explorers of Sky in English. The second trailer animates the brief glimpses of the plot, and there's an English version of it this time. Pikachu, why are you using an electric type move against Groudon? I know that non-ability immunities are just super resistances in this game, but it's still not going to do much damage. In all seriousness, I like how that action continues into the gameplay footage. The second look like adverts for Jetix's latest Power Rangers ripoff and continue focusing on the novelty of becoming a Pokemon. First, there's this pair of adverts where kids talk about what Pokemon they are. I find it hilarious that they say everything deadly seriously,
Bubble Beam.
and that this girl's shadow is of a male Pikachu. Also, why didn't they put Chimchar in the same advert as Turtwig and Piplup? On the plus side, they're all standing on a beach at the end, which is somewhat relevant to the game's plot. Then there's this incredibly weird French one, where some ominous cloud of doom freezes a generic city in time, and only a group of kids can walk into the light and unleash their inner Pokemon forms or something. At first glance, it seems nothing like the game's plot, But this is very similar to the plant's paralysis, don't you think? You can also briefly see Groval's shadow at the start. Shadows are a recurring theme for some reason. The narrator and music make this sound like the most epic action movie ever.
L'ombre s'étend sur le monde.
Remember what I said about Explorers of Time and Darkness adverts giving glimpses of major events? Because the Explorers of Sky marketing and in-game opening instead decided to spoil everything. I don't get why they marketed this game to people who'd already played Time or Darkness, because they'd have to play through the same plot before getting to all the new stuff. This animated trailer, which was presumably made by the same company as the Time and Darkness ones, isn't too bad. While it does show the heroes tied up with Groval in the stockade, and then Groval shoving himself and Dusknoir through the dimensional hole, it seems possible for a newcomer to come to the wrong conclusions. I love the American narrator's voice, by the way.
Go beyond time and darkness and into the skies.
Unfortunately, it's all downhill from here. We do not speak of the WiiWare games. If the live-action Explorers of Time and Darkness adverts belonged on Jetix, then this Gates to Infinity advert belongs on Disney XD. A surprising amount of this game's marketing was focused on the Magna Gate camera gimmick, even though it's an optional feature that the game shouldn't have been named after. There's a finite number of dungeons, for dog's sake! Despite how stupid this advert is, it's stuck in my mind for years because of the punchline.
Ever.
It's also the only one I could find. Oh, Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon. I was so disappointed with you with your terribly paced story, gameplay that was made even more tedious by fixing things that weren't broken, rushed ending, and trademark Gen 6 over-reliance on spectacle over substance. Also, characters say legendary Pokemon, mythical Pokemon so much that you can practically see the trademark symbols. I've never even finished this game. I watched Mariland's entire Let's Play before this game was even released where I live. After slowly playing it for years until I gave up just before the final dungeon, I recently decided to restart it, only to realise that I'd have to slog through the boring bits all over again, so I sold it. The marketing was terrible too. Nothing says grand epic adventure quite like Teletubbies. The British version had the same extreme voiceover guy as every other Pokemon advert, and all of the characters constantly point out the obvious.
Your path will be unpredictable, and enemies could be hiding round any corner. Even when you think it's safe.
An apple?
You've got to keep your wits about you.
One of the pre-release trailers for this game had a montage of legendaries talking about the petrification crisis. Why couldn't have they done something like that instead? But despite all of this, I'm glad that Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon exists. I think that the third and fourth generations were the golden age of spin-offs, and I'm not just talking out of nostalgia here. While the casual spin-offs were always there, the ones that got the most attention back then had stories and artistic visions, but now they're all free to play. While I may not have been happy with Pokemon Super Mystery Dungeon, I'm glad that Spike Chunsoft are willing to make a story-focused Pokemon spin-off at a time when the franchise was becoming homogenised, which is why Detective Pikachu is a blessing in disguise. Until next time, stay interesting!